Perfect.
I'll save it to my computer so I can render it down later and then send it over to you through Google Drive or Dropbox or something or other.
Thank you, Michael.
We are officially recording.
Right.
And
okay. Well, I am Skip Albright, president of the Arizona Society for Professional Hypnosis, and I want to welcome all of you, members and non-members alike, to our Zoom training session, the second one we've had this year. First one on October the 14th was very well received. We had about 30 people that showed up online to attend the session. Like that session, we will be, as Jody said, uploading this to YouTube, and all the members will be receiving a copy of the link if they choose to rewatch this for their own purposes later on. Hopefully everyone is healthy and happy. Michael was able to survive the pandemic and the symptoms that accompanied that, and we're so happy about that. Hopefully everybody else is very happy, healthy. I want to introduce our board first, and it looks like most of our board members are on. Our Vice President, Odette Fay.
Hello.
Our Secretary, Debbie Combs.
Hello.
Our Treasurer, Jody Hurt.
Hi.
And looks like we're without our parliamentarian, Thomas Wheel. I want to recognize Mr. Lindsay Brady, one of the very early pioneers of the ASPH and past president, vice president, janitor, and everything else. He really kept this organization going for years and years. So,
thank you.
Lindsay, thanks for
You're
signing
welcome.
on with us tonight. Really appreciate you being here. Tonight's program, we're going to have two speakers, approximately an hour in length each, más o menos, more or less. It could be less than that. It depends. Our first speaker tonight is going to be Caryn Bird. She'll be introduced by Odette Fay later on. Our second will be Michael DeSchalit, and I have the honor of being able to introduce Michael when it's his turn to speak as well. Following this meeting, we're going to have a short discussion with the ASPH members, where we're going to talk about some ASPH business, and non-members can sign off at that time. And we'll be discussing a variety of topics coming up. But without further ado, I want to have Odette Fay do your thing, please.
Okay, thank you, Skip. Well, welcome tonight. I'm excited to see that you're here. I think this Zoom meeting is the most fantastic thing yet. So Caryn Bird, who is out of Wisconsin, I'm from Illinois, so I thought a 262 number. This is pretty cool. She's with Win with Hypnosis, which is her own firm, and she's known as the Game Changer Trainer. And she's going to be talking, she works with high performing athletes and actually just high performers in general. And she's created an attitude of the Champions and certification program. But she's a leading mindset expert for athletes and other high performers. So I think that's really important, whether you're an athlete or not, we all want to be high performers in our life. So I am so excited to hear what she has to say about that and apply some of the techniques that she talks about. She loves training. And this is important. She says in her write-up to me that she holds a vision for her clients, that they will be high performing, that they will be successful. And I remember reading that or hearing about that from, you know, another source that, you know, before someone has a session, it's important for the practitioner to also hold that vision for the person. So that's something that really stood out for me when she said that. I am so jealous. She's traveled to over 15 countries. She's an international coach and speaker. So she has me completely beat on her travel schedule. She also has a personal and a soul felt aspect to her practice, which I will let her share as well. That's her story. But with that, I'd like to welcome Caryn Bird. You can take yourself off mute, and we're excited to have you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for that beautiful introduction. Thank you all for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I have so much to share that sometimes I don't even know where to begin. So I'm going to try to keep my story in line so that you all can follow me. But I want to first put out there that if you have any questions, please feel free to ask them, because I am an open book and I would love to share what I have learned and the growth that I've experienced in the last couple of years. And I just want to start, but I would like to start. I am a hypnotherapist, a sports hypnotist, performance mindset expert in Burlington, Wisconsin. I have had a practice for 16 years. And like many, I started my practice part-time. I was an at-home mom for many years and decided that it was time for something for me. And this seemed like a good place for me to start learning how to have my own business and make some money without having to have a job and still keeping my family a priority. And so I became certified in hypnobirthing after I used hypnobirthing, and then hypnosis after that, and practiced part-time learning about hypnosis for many years, probably 12 years. And in the meantime, I have 3 sons, and they were all high-performing athletes. And so I started in the sports hypnotist market and quickly became the expert in the area, because a lot of times, especially parents, because I was working with youth and high school mostly, some collegiate athletes because I would get referrals, but would see the differences in their children and in their athletes. So that was my niche from the beginning, but I didn't really realize it was my niche because I wanted to see everybody for everything, and I was just a hypnotist, and that's what I was. And so I did that for many, many years. And then I recall the day that I decided that it was time to make this a real business and start making some real money in it and start making it a profession for me. And I started to recognize not only was I confident enough, but the power of hypnosis, because I have a background in psychology and a degree in psychology. And recognized, because my son had been to a psychologist he had broken his back in wrestling and was struggling with some anxiety and depression. And, we had been to marriage therapists, and recognizing that hypnosis was a form of therapy that psychologists knew about, but didn't necessarily use. And then seeing that hypnosis worked so much quicker and was so much more effective in my world. So I hired a book coach for $5,000, and I was even making close to that, and I don't even know how long, because I was just seeing clients here and there. And I thought to myself, this is it. Actually prior to that, I was at a conference and I had developed a program for athletes, and my colleague and friend Helen Midas had said, you need to put that into a structured program. You know exactly what you're doing. You're teaching it in conferences anyways. You need to create a manual and put that in a program. So I did that, dabbled in that for a bit. And then after that was written, I didn't know what to do with it. So I hired a book coach. I thought, help me write the book. And instead of writing the book for athletes or for hypnotherapists, I wrote the book Hypnose Niche. And that was on the advice of the book coach about the importance of niching. Because as I decided to choose my niche, I saw that's where the money came in. Because I was now known as the expert in sports hypnosis. And then the athletes would come to me, and the athletes would refer their brother and their sister and their mother for weight loss and smoking and anxiety and all those many, many other things, because they had so much success with hypnosis in sports. So that's where kind of I was in this place of not being sure where I was going to go with it. I'd spent money on a book coach. I'd written a manual, and I still was stuck in this place of not being sure. And my son, our oldest son, who was an amazing wrestler, he was on the top 3 future Olympian list. He had won 4 or 5 national titles. He was a 2-time state champion. and he was a state runner-up, and he was amazing. He was amazing. Everyone knew Josh Bird. And so he went to college on a full scholarship in Nebraska. And the morning that my whole world changed, I think, actually that day I was coming home from work, and it was a cold day in Wisconsin, and the wind whipped through your bones. I couldn't wait to get home and just sit by the fire and relax. And I sat down in my favorite comfortable rocking chair. That was an heirloom from my grandma. It was a paisley blue. And I thought, I'm just gonna sit here and relax and reflect on life. We were foster parents and had 2 foster girls for 2 years, and they were very young. And that was another piece of my life that they had moved on. And I thought, okay, now I get to focus on me. I get to focus on my business and you know, what my purpose is in this world. And I sat down and my phone pinged, and I was waiting for my son, who was at college, to tell me about his upcoming tournament in Colorado, because my sisters and my parents and I were going to watch. And I got a letter from him, an email, and the email was one of those emails that I thought was either A, a writing student for, project for college, or B, it was one of those letters. Have you ever read where that one where it says, it's a letter from a girl and she says, Mom and Dad, I am moving to another state. I'm pregnant. I'm leaving with my boyfriend, and I will let you know how things go. And then she says, just kidding. I got a D on my chemistry test. That wasn't so bad, was it? Right? And so I'm reading this letter from my son, and I'm thinking, absolutely, this is a joke. And as I'm reading it, my stomach dropped. And you know, we feel when you're going down a roller coaster and you hit the bottom and you're like, ugh. And I realized that it wasn't a joke. And the letter read something like, Mom and Dad, I'm so sorry to do this to you, and I absolutely love you. I want you to know I'll love you forever. But I sold everything that I had at school for a plane ticket, and I'm on my way to getting on the airplane. And I'm going down to Georgia and then Florida with nothing but my phone and my backpack on my back to find myself in God's purpose for my life. And I had an unfortunate event at school, and I am no longer there. And I took my SIM card out of my phone, and I'll let you know in a couple days from a payphone that I am safe. And he went on to say that an unfortunate event had happened at school, and he had been in a roommate's room, a couple dorm rooms down, a couple days earlier, and was staying there because there was a girl staying with his roommate in his room. And he had finished his Adderall because he had ADHD, and he had thrown it in the garbage. Well, this night, a couple nights later, those people, the kids in the room, those couple doors down, were being noisy and I guess playing games, drinking games, and were getting in trouble. So the RA called the police, and the police came in and searched the room and found nothing in their room except the empty Adderall bottle. And that was enough then for them to see it was Josh's name, and it was in the wrong room. And so they went to Josh's room, and he had been sleeping because he strained his neck because he had the tournament coming up that weekend. He had been sleeping since like 8 o'clock. It was 2 in the morning. They woke him up, sent him out to the room, and searched his entire room. And when they were searching his entire room, they found 5 things that they could charge felonies, 5 felonies. And one was a pocket knife that was 3 inches too long, over code, because he was a hunter, which is one of the reasons he went to Nebraska, because he loved to hunt. He had his bow in his closet with no arrows, but just his bow, which was against code. He had a propane tank with a propane heater, which was against code. He had something else. And then, he had a food scale in his room, which they thought he was measuring marijuana with because he was a wrestler. He had a food scale. And an empty bag, a Ziploc baggie that had some residue from some marijuana in it. And called him into the dean's office, and they said, you have 24 hours this was the day after, you have 24 hours to sign out. We will not press any felony charges, to sign out of school and to sign out and to get out of here. And his coach was away, so he didn't have anyone to speak to. He didn't call us, signed out, went down to Florida. And at that time, I never, ever, ever wanted to feel that way again. And I remember lying in my bed and just in a ball, crying. Like, could this really happen? He was a future Olympian, and he truly planned on being in the Olympics, and he was good enough to be in the Olympics. In fact, I remember saying to him, where did you get that undeniable confidence? Like, how come he literally, I don't know if any of you ever have had children that wrestled or did sports. Any of you have anyone that were in sports? And so a lot of times when they go out there, like, we're nervous for them because we want them to win. And that kid was so incredible that I would go to a state tournament or a national tournament, and I never worried about him winning. I literally sat there and I was like, he is going to win this match. He wins every single time he wrestles. It was amazing. And so I said to him, we go, how did you get that undeniable confidence in yourself? And what is it? And he said, I know how to switch a switch. And when I switch it on, I'm an apex. And I go on that mat and I become an apex, and nothing around me matters. You know, he gets in that zone and I just go. And he made it work for him. So I started using that program. And back to the story about him going to Florida. He was in Florida for quite a while. I was in the space of, how can I get him in another college? How can I keep him wrestling again? These are his life goals. What is he going to do with himself? Will he ever be happy again? He knew nothing but wrestling since the day he could walk. He was wrestling on a wrestling mat. And so at that time, I was searching for, why did this happen? Why did this happen to him? What is the purpose in it? And I decided at that time that I was going to make it my mission that athletes around the world could have that same confidence that Josh had. And that undeniable, unstoppable, how do you step on the mat and get in the zone? And I decided that I couldn't do it on my own. And that was the reason and the purpose. And when I truly look at the path of our life, if we sit down and really, really focus in, I was just telling my client that this evening, there is a path for our life. And when we really focus on it, we see that everything happens perfectly. And so I had, my family, and then I wrote this manual not knowing what I was going to do with it. And that led to the book coach. And that led to this happening to Josh. And at that point, I thought, this is it. Like, my mission and my goal is to get out there and teach as many athletes or as many hypnotists and hypnotherapists and mindset coaches how to make a difference in the lives of kids and high schoolers. Because if there's anything that we can give them, and I've always said that if there is anything that I could give my kids, it would be the gift of confidence. If I could hand them a gift of belief in themselves, that's what I would do. And I've recognized that when we work with kids and teenagers, we can hand them a gift of belief, not only in themselves because they are better at their sport, but themselves because they learn how important it is in their head to believe in themselves and the way they talk to themselves and how to switch out of things and all those amazing things that we as human beings have within us, but we just haven't always been taught. And so that's kind of my mission there. And then working through all of that, and what I wanted to teach you all is, and I was telling Odette this, I'm just working through this. So this son moved back and lived with us for a while, and then he bought a house and was a carpenter and was amazingly happy and had a girlfriend that he was dearly in love with. And talking about our journey, which is part of the reason that I have had so much growth, is he was in a motorcycle accident 6 months ago. and he passed away. And at that time, I thought, what the heck? You know, what is the deal here? What is my journey? And I started doing a lot of soul searching and opening up to the spiritual world. Because before that, I have a strong belief in God and Jesus and a strong Christian background. And I wasn't really open to the spiritual world. I'm just gonna be totally honest, and I know that a lot in this profession are. And to me, it was like, well, that's just not me, or I'm just not sure about that, or I believe in the power of the mind. I know how to, you know, teach high performers, and worked with a lot of business people on, you know, reaching their high performance. But that stuff's just not for me. Like, I don't get it, you know, I don't get it. And I'm not even sure it's Christian, so whatever. So after Josh passed away, I just opened up to so much. And I have found that for me, and I know it's different for all of us, it has changed the way in the last 6 months I have worked with clients. And I guess what I have today prepared the 6 steps that I use to a 100% successful session. And this is in the first session. And for me, part of this is based on the program that I put together for athletes, my Attitude of a Champion program that I offer. It's an online course, and I'm going to be launching it early in 2021. It's a 4-month course where I mentor hypnotists and hypnotherapists with half-day VIP days, group coaching, and individual coaching. And this is part of what I do in the first session with athletes. But since I've been opening up to this whole new world, and that the belief that Josh is still here with me, and that we have purposes and journeys in our life. And when we truly look at where our life has come from and how we can help others, because I believe we have an amazing profession, find their purpose and find their goals, it is life-changing. In fact, like I said, tonight I just worked with a woman. It was her first session, and you know, just asking her, like, what are your life goals? What is your soul's purpose? Because we all are here on this earth for a reason. She said, I don't know. And I said, well, we get to know that. And that's part of what we get to do as, you know, as change workers and hypnotists and hypnotherapists, is we get to change every single person that comes in our office, and, or we see on Zoom, and every single person that they come in contact with. Because that's our mission. That's our life goals, is to help people find themselves and their mission. So I have the 6 key steps to the 100% successful session. And I base them on the word listen. And I want to tell you guys all about it, and just kind of some tips and tricks that I use in that first session that I've expanded, like I said, since I've opened up to just feeling people and where I can lead them in their lives. So does anyone have any questions before I get going on that? I don't want to sit here and talk the whole time. I did want to open it up. So if anyone has any questions about any of that or my journey, I would love to open up.
Hi, Caryn. This is Jody.
Hey, Jody.
I was wondering if had you not used hypnosis with your son before or at all, but when he was gaining that confidence and you just kind of learned from him, as opposed to having put that into his subconscious?
You know what? I did not do a lot of hypnosis with them, because you all know that our kids don't really want to listen to us. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just his mother. So what my boys would do, I have 3 boys, and all of them were wrestlers, and the youngest one is still a wrestler. He's in high school. He's a senior this year. They were all giving me their goals and let me write affirmation statements with them. and create their perfect match. What does that look like? And then they would allow me to make a recording for them. And so my oldest son did know, what I did. And he would listen to my recording every night. And it was the visualization of, what does that perfect match look like? All of his statements, seeing himself turn into, he didn't choose the animal. He had the apex, seeing himself turn into the apex, working with the switch in his mind, getting into the zone. And he did let me do that, yes. But I truly believe that, he had that belief in himself. Probably, I would say he got in about 8th grade. And I can't take the credit for it. It was just unbelievable. It was just one of those athletes that he never questioned how amazing he was.
That's awesome. Yeah, my kids are 12 and 14, and I want to do a lot of work with them, but they don't want to hear it right now. But I can tell because I have some audio recordings and stuff that I put out that their friends use, like parents have used with their own kids. And so people have mentioned to them that they've heard my mom, like they've heard your mom talking, and they're super proud of that, but they're not willing yet to let me into their minds.
Just see if you can make an audio for them.
Yeah, I know. I'll try.
Mm. Any other questions? No? Okay. The one thing that I have learned since the death of Josh is that we all move through grief differently. We all work through emotions differently. And sometimes I question even myself because I don't even know how to explain this because it sounds so odd. Because we hear from everyone that the absolute worst thing and every parent's nightmare is the loss of their child. And I am not going to say it's easy, but I honestly can say, and I think it's because of our training and because of the way we look at life, and this is why it's so important that we help others. I just saw a client that had her parents and her sister were in a car accident and passed away 20 years ago, and she's still struggling with depression because of it. And she had a couple, seen therapists, and she finally came to me and said, I just want to know if you can help me. And I said, absolutely, I can help you, because I know the feeling of grief, but I also know that even though I lost my son 6 months ago, I still feel joy. I can feel joy every single day. I can feel happy every single day. And are there waves? Yes. Do sometimes something trigger me, or a song comes on the radio and I lose it? Yes. I mean, sometimes in between clients, I don't know, I'll be checking an email and I start crying and I'm like, get yourself together, Caryn, because now we get to focus out. But I do believe that we can still be happy and we can get through it. And there's people that can't, but we get to teach them that. And I think it's really important that we let them know that it is okay to grieve, but to be stuck in it and to stay in it is a miserable life. And no one wants to feel that way. And we can get out of it. And sometimes it's not easy, but we can do it. And so, I'm going to tell you the 6 steps first, and then I'll tell you a little bit more about just what I've experienced and how to work with people through that. So the first one, when we talk about the steps, it's LISTEN for listen. And I start with L. And the first one is L stands for listen and let them talk. What I've learned in my 16 years of being a hypnotist and hypnotherapist is they want to talk. So give them a few minutes to talk. Ask them, why are you here? Let them talk for a few minutes. If they start going into story, then we get to say, okay, great, we're going to get to that. But just give me a little bit about why you're here. And they want to just tell you. So let them get that out because they're nervous a lot of times. And so we do that. And then one of the big questions I ask every single client, whether they're an athlete, a high performer, anxiety, smoking, is if I could snap my fingers and you could have 3 things: think, be, or do. Well, think, be, do, or have 3 things, what would those be? And they just start to tell you. And based on those, I start to write affirmation statements for them. And then they come up with me. So the first one is just listen. Why are you here? And if I could snap my fingers, what would it be? Now, Michael, I remember, I don't even know how many years ago, you talked to me. We had lunch at in Chicago at the Mid-America Hypnosis Conference, and you talked to me about your genie script, right? And so I think that's where this is where I came up with it, is you had the 3 wishes. Do you still do that? Yeah.
Yep, I still do that process, every client.
You still do that. And here's the thing is I can't take credit for a whole lot of what I do or teach. It's crazy because when I think about it, as hypnotists and hypnotherapists, we all do things so differently. And there's no right and there's no wrong. And there's so many modalities and so many different ways to do things. And it's about just taking bits and pieces of what works and what you're comfortable with and what you see works, and then adapting that with your clients. But I do remember that. I didn't think about that till today, that I'm sure I got those 3 from Michael's 3 wishes. So he has this genie script he does. And I remember when you taught it to me, Michael, I was like, well, I could never be that hardcore. Like you were hardcore on your clients. And I was like, but I can use some of it. So anyways, I thought that was kind of interesting. And then the second one is I, and that's intake and instill confidence, because it's so important for us to instill confidence into our clients. And how you do that is to give them confidence in the process. You know, I've got you. We're going to take this, you know, we're going to make sure that you walk out of here a different person. You're going to step into the new version of you when you step out of here. Confidence to help them know that whatever your goals are, you're going to reach your goals. And when we write these statements in the last session that I do with you, I'm going to read your statements to you, and we're going to say, check, check, check. Did you reach that? Yes. Do you love yourself? Yes. Did you reach this goal? Yes. Check. That's our goal, is to have those results when you step out of here for that last session. And then confidence in that hypnosis works, because hypnosis is amazingly powerful. And just like I tell every client, I don't have the answers to you, but you do. You have the answers back in that wise subconscious mind. I'm just here to guide you through it. And so that all starts with a good pre-talk, right? So I is intake, instilling confidence, and having a good pre-talk. And we all know, you know, what a good pre-talk is, and that's everywhere. So, but to me, the pre-talk is a huge part of that first session, is to get them to believe in themselves. And my goal, my personal goal that I've set for myself, is that every single client that walks out of my office or finishes up a Zoom session with me, as I'm finishing, I get a comment like, I can't wait for this, or I'm so excited about this, or I'm so glad I came. And I get that often. And so my goal is to get that with every single one that leaves. And then we go to S, and listen. And S is self-affirmations and goals. And what I do is when they are talking and I'm asking them why they are here, I'm reframing it, writing it down in positive present tense. And then as they're, when I ask them their 3 things, I'm writing it down. So an example is, you can just think of, I guess, who I worked with today. I'm worthy. I love myself. I am calm and peaceful. I weigh whatever. So as she's talking, these are all the things that she wants. I write it down in positive present tense because these are the goals that she has. And they're all based on the questions that I asked during their intake. And then I have them, and I learned this in a leadership course that I took last year, I have them create their contract. And their contract is a statement that they say many times a day, and is a statement of who they get to step into when they're the new version of themselves that I help them find. And so their contract is, I am a, and then it's 3 words, and they get to fill in those 3 words, blank, 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 And they can end it with woman, man, athlete, leader, business woman, expert. And so we base those off of the statements that we've created together, and I'll read the statements. And most of those statements have words like powerful, loving, peaceful, calm, confident. But I'll let them choose their own, and they fill it in, blank, blank, blank. And then I say to them, every time that we have a session, the first thing I'm going to do is ask you, what is your contract? And you are going to say it enough times between now and when I see you again that you don't have to think about it. Bam. So my contract is I am a powerful, loving, giving leader. I don't have to think about it. I say it all the time. It shifts me back into me, powerful, loving, giving leader. That's it. And so I do this with every single one of my clients. And with athletes, they can be powerful, they can be great, they can be amazing, but they get to choose. And they can end it with athlete or what their sport is. And then I have them say that every time they look in the mirror and tell themselves that, so that they remember to do it and they start stepping into that. And what to explain to them, you know, what we're doing is we're creating new pathways. And you might not believe it, because some of them will say, well, I don't believe I'm a great basketball player, or, well, I'm not confident, that's why I'm here. Well, no, but that's who you're becoming. So we're creating these pathways and we're going to make them super highways. And so that is S. And then T is trigger statements and tasks. Trigger statement is I have them choose their favorite affirmation that we've written. I have them write down their affirmations, to choose their favorite one, and then anchor that to a something that they do 4 or 5 times a day. I do this with athletes. I do it with every my clients. It could be get a drink, stop at a stop sign. They choose their favorite one, they write it down, and every time they do this, they say that very favorite statement. E is encourage. I always like to make sure that I'm encouraging them. By the end of this program, you will feel, see, and know your authentic and true self. Whatever it is, by the end of this program, you will reach whatever goal. My goal is to check all these off, and we get to help you become exactly that. And then N is the last one, and that is next time. And we talk about what we will be doing next time, so they know and they're excited about it. What we'll be working through. If I'm working, like today, I was working with the woman with sadness, and she, you know, I said, next time we get to work through sadness, and what we get to do every single session is start to open up your heart. Because what I've learned is that when we have events that happen in our lives that are scary or sad or make us angry, any of those negative emotions, if we hold on to them, it tightens up our heart, and our heart starts to get hard, and it brings us into a lower frequency of emotions, and then we get stuck there. And if we can start opening our heart and feeling emotions, like we get to feel our feelings and feel our emotions, but let them flow through us and release them, then we're not hanging on to them, and our heart's not hanging on to them. Because when we hang on to them, that's what causes the anxiety and the sadness and all the emotions. That is why we're not happy, why we can't feel joy anymore. And so, you know, my goal is that by next session, we're going to start opening your heart, and I'm going to teach you how to do that. And so by the time they leave, they're like, yay, I can't wait to come back. Do I have to wait till next week? So those are my 3 N's, or my listen, that I work through every session, whether they're, like I said, athletes or any other clients. So any questions about that? Come on.
I took notes. There's a lot of good information there.
Good, good.
Thank you.
I did want to let you know, if you would like to send me an email, and my email is my name, Caryn, C-A-R-Y-N, at winwithhypnosis.com. I will send you an outline of what I just went through.
And I have a question for you.
Sure.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, you know, I've come to the spiritual side of hypnosis, like you have, in my practice, and really energy. You know, when you're talking about Josh being here with you, I deal with a lot of clients with grief who come to me and, you know, like you said, I'm not being able to get past my sadness, the emotions that they have, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you talked about that, and you know, I tell them, well, whoever it was, your husband, your wife, your son, your friend, they didn't die. They didn't go anywhere, because energy can't be destroyed or created. They're still here, but because you can't see them with your eyes or hear them with your ears, in other words, your receivers can't pick them up, you think they're not here. Well, they can absolutely hear you and see you, and they're here with you right now. And all you have to do is think about them in your mind, and you're absolutely in communication with them anytime you choose. But anyway, the question I have is, so when you do this work with your clients and you do those anchors, do you talk about the physiological tie to the emotion? In other words, do you have them recognize where in their body are they feeling those emotions? Because my contention is every single emotion has a corresponding physical sensation in their body.
Yes.
And clients, you know, to wit, they come to you and, well, where do you feel your fear of heights? Oh gosh, right here in my chest. It feels like somebody's sitting in my chest. Or I feel in my hands, they start sweating and all this, you know, whatever it is. And so you can either remove the emotion or you remove the physical sign of the emotion. Either one, they're inextricably connected, and either one of those creates the change that they're looking for. So I was curious, because I didn't hear you talk about that, other than, except you started to allude to it when you talked about the hardening of the heart, and my ears perked up with that, because that's absolutely the truth, what we call a heart wall that people build, that they can't penetrate, and they basically protect themselves from the outside world so that they don't overload on the emotion. I'd like to hear your...
Yeah, absolutely. And I do, absolutely. So what I went through is first session. I mean, that's literally just first session. And I don't even have time in that first session for hypnosis. But yes, I do. In fact, I tell them, we will be working through this. I'm going to teach you how to get into your heart center, how to open your heart center, how to move through the emotions. I will let you do it. I'll let you practice it. Yes, you do feel it in your body. And, we all know men typically feel it in their back. Often women feel it up here in their shoulders. I don't tell them where they're going to feel it. I just, yes, but it is definitely a technique that I use, because I have learned too that, and I know, so maybe like even a year ago, my heart was very closed and I was protecting myself from something, and I was not open. And even though I had a positive outlook, I didn't even cry. I didn't want to cry because I was so closed up and I was protecting myself, and it was so hard. So I absolutely know that. And yes, I do. I think it's so important to open up that heart, and a completely different part of hypnosis that I ever used before this journey that I've been on in these last, 6 months. Yeah, maybe a year.
And so do you do this technique? I mean, I don't know what your field of, aside from athletes, performers, do you do depression, anxiety, fears, phobias, habits, weight loss, smoking, alcohol, drugs, on and on and on?
I do.
Are you a generalist? In other words, you don't just specialize on athletes and their performance.
I do see clients for everything, because like I said, although I am the expert in sports, and I love my sports clients and athletes because they're so easy, they don't have a lot of emotional stuff they're coming for. They really want mindset, and mental toughness training. I get so many referrals from everyone from them. So I do see a lot of clients for many other things. And the system I use is Helen Midas's system. I was trained, Helen Midas in Australia, and she uses it depends, but like 5, 6, 7 session program. And it's similar to a timeline, but it is releasing the emotions and acknowledging the learnings. So as you release the emotions, you acknowledge the learning, because there's a learning in everything. And I use that process, and then obviously change it a little bit and integrate a lot of the like heart healing and opening up and forgiveness and pieces of that.
When you work with athletes, are you doing future pacing? And how
With
many
athletes?
Yeah, are you doing future
Absolutely.
pacing? See yourself, obviously, the visualization of them excelling like your son did without even knowing he was doing self-hypnosis.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what he was doing.
Yep.
And
A lot
how
of
many
future
sessions do you typically
with
do
athletes. I used to see them 3. I see them 4 now, because I found that in the 3rd session, I would teach them how to do self-hypnosis and teach them that circle of excellence, the NLP. But I found the 4th session is highly successful because I get to reinforce it. Otherwise, I was finding that I give them so much in those 3 sessions, they forgot to do self-hypnosis, practice circle of excellence. And for me, mindset training, when you work with athletes and high performers, they have to continue practicing it or they're going to slip back. And so I see them for 4 sessions, a lot of future pacing, a lot of feeling themselves in the zone the last time they were in the zone and they performed really well. And then, pick 3 words to describe that. And pick one word that describes the smell, pick a word that, a symbol, and then anchoring those things into the perfect game or their perfect match. We use triggers where get their head back in the game. Like an athlete will touch the mat, and then we take the motion of touching the mat to getting back in the game, and then using that through our sessions. So I can teach them techniques on how to stay in the zone and not have any of the distractions anywhere else. It doesn't matter who you're wrestling or who you're playing against, where you are, how you feel, it's being in that zone of that peak performance. And we work through that in the 4 sessions. Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yes.
And this is going to be a pretty personal question, but with yourself, how have you worked with yourself through Josh's demise?
That is a great question. I have spent a lot of time on listening, opening my heart.
And how do you, tell me how you open your heart, just specifically?
Okay. So a lot about my journey. Like I said, I was never open to the spiritual stuff, but when Josh died, I remember sitting in the sunroom saying to my friends, I don't think I can live through this. I don't know how I'm going to live through this. I had filed for divorce 10 days earlier, and then this happened. And that was the biggest, hardest decision in my whole life. And then I just said, I don't know how I'm going to live through this. And so it was, but I felt a peace around it. I felt a peace around, even though I wasn't spiritual, there was just something in me that said, it's okay. It's supposed to be this way. For some reason, the mission is bigger over there. And if he were to stay in this world and in that human body, he would not have accomplished his soul's mission. And I don't know how that came to me. I just felt the peace in it. I felt the grief and the sadness of losing him, but I felt that it was going to be okay. And from that day forward, I knew it was going to be okay. And that I was going to be okay, and then we all were going to be okay, and that he was in a better place. He was where he was supposed to be. The day he died, he was such a happy guy. The day he died, he ran a race at work, and he was a carpenter, and he had bet this guy, and it was all over YouTube. It was that day because he drove his motorcycle to work, and he had a race with one of his fellow carpenter guys, his buddies, and it was recorded, and he was running down a hill and he tripped on a board and did this weird little roll, and he hops up, he grabs his hip, and he continues to run. And that was just him. He was full out 100% of the time. And I knew that he lived in his 23 years. There was no fear. He lived every day to the max. I knew that there was a reason and there was a purpose for it. And he died so happy. And that made me so happy. And so after that, I started I do a lot of prayer and meditation. I read the Bible, but I started opening up to like the world of there's got to be something on the other side. And what does that look like? And how do I open that? So a lot of books, I love the book Untethered Soul. That helped me kind of just with some of the craziness that goes on in our head. And here's the crazy thing is random people, someone that I went to high school with 20 years ago, someone that I work with I never knew, a friend that I didn't know, they like contact me and said, Josh came to me in a dream. Or, you know, I can feel souls from that have passed on because I was in this really bad car accident a year ago. This was a guy I went to high school with. I hadn't talked to him in like 20 years. He's a judge. He's like the head judge of the county, super analytical. And he said, I was in this car accident. He said, Josh has been driving me crazy on my way to work because he tells me that I need to tell you he's okay. And he is so like strong next to me. He's making me cry. And this guy was like not a crier. He's like, so he calls me, he says, are you open to this stuff? I said, I'm open to anything at this point. And he said, did he ever know that we went to high school or France together our senior year of high school on the school trip? And I said, no, he never knew who this guy was. He said, he made me put Moulin Rouge on in the car and let me tell you that you're going to be okay and that he's okay and that he loves you. So, I mean, just these things as I started to open up are starting to just open up to the point of like, I had a woman call me that's a medium that wanted a session and then she didn't need the session. And then she said, but I was supposed to call you for a reason. And she told me she was a medium. I said, oh, that's really interesting because I've kind of just been opening up to some of this stuff. And she starts telling me how she feels Josh. And she's telling me these things about Josh that she would have never known. And I know like a lot of people, I would have never, ever understood that. But so I spend a lot of time like connecting to Josh or working on connecting to Josh and just feeling him with me, asking for support, signs. I look for signs all the time. And that all took me on the journey of knowing that there is a bigger purpose for our lives and that our souls have purpose. And that's part of what I've changed too in my practice is, you know, like I told a woman today is you have a purpose, like you have a soul's purpose. And when you can step into the version of you that is your purpose, and everything happens perfectly in life, you are going to find your joy and happiness because it's there and we get to find it. And I truly believe that is we all have a purpose. And Josh's purpose was, you know, whatever it was, I've been told, like it was the other day, it was for his girlfriend who he's dearly in love with. And she has some big things in life and she couldn't do it. He couldn't do it on the side. I mean, so it's still crazy to me. I'm still trying to understand it all, and I'm still learning about it all, but I feel so peaceful about it and around it. And I just am working every day at staying in this place of not out of grief, but more in like the joy and the love and the happiness and the what can I do with this? Like, what do I get to do with this? So, yeah. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. I guess opening your heart, like, do you visualize that or do you just, what is that visual for you?
For me, and there's all different ways to do it. You can visualize it like a rosebud. You can visualize that light coming in from your root chakra and opening your heart and it feeling like a lot of warmth and openness in your heart. And one of my good friends she's a soul wealth coach, so a business coach in Puerto Rico. She led me through something where I went into my heart and I got to feel the comfort in it because it's my heart and sitting on a rug or a carpet and I'm sitting cross-legged, and there's some journals in front of me, and I'm writing in journals, and I'm just in a really safe space. And there's a door to my heart, and there's some light, and it's a beautiful light. And on the other side of the door is Josh. And I choose to step through that door when I want, anytime I want. And when I get there, I can talk to him, I can connect with him, because he doesn't have words. Souls don't have words, but they have energy and feeling. And so I can connect with him. And I was able to connect with him. And, you know, she said, ask him any questions. And my question was, how do I like know you're here? Like, how can I feel you? And he answered me with, Mom. And this wasn't words, but I got the message. Mom, you texted me all the time, and I would text you back, yes, Mom, or Mom, I love you too, or I love you to the moon and back also, or whatever his response was. And he's like, is all you have to do is reach out to me just like you used to text me. And I came back and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, I don't know where that came from, but so that's part of like opening up my heart, is getting inside of it and opening it up so I can feel that the higher frequencies of energy, instead of staying in that low place of sadness and anger, and because that's not helping anybody. So that's how we do it. Yeah, you can get into it. There's a lot of ways you can do it. But yeah.
Thank you.
Caryn, you made an offer if anybody wanted to email you, that you would reply back to them. What's your email?
What's my email? It's Caryn, C-A-R-Y-N, my name, Caryn, at winwithhypnosis.com. And I'll send you an outline of my listen notes that I use for my first session.
Wanted everybody to be aware of it, because if they don't have it, it's not in our little bio as far as I know. Yes,
Okay.
it is. I lied.
Oh,
Yes,
good.
It's in there. I lied. Debbie did an excellent job as usual. And
Yep.
Good job. Well done. Thank you for having me. Thank you for being great listeners.
Well, thank you for.
And
Thank you,
Caryn.
You're welcome. If you have any questions, you're always welcome to contact me. You know how to get a hold of me.
Okay.
Caryn, thanks so much for opening
Thank
up
you. Wonderful talk.
personally and professionally. That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Thank you. Thanks.
Takes a lot of bravery to do that, I understand, but really well received and great information.
Good. Good. All
Okay.
right. I am ready for Michael.
Well, it is Michael's turn, and I get to introduce Michael. Michael, you ready for this? Michael is muted. You muted, Michael.
I am ready. I was waiting
Okay,
for
good.
you.
All right. So we have a little bio for Michael, and I'm going to adhere to most of that and maybe offer a couple of personal comments as well. So Michael's an international award-winning hypnotist, both in stage and clinical arenas, and he's the owner of Virtual Hypnosis Online, as you can tell, and has seen clients worldwide online, even well before the pandemic started. In fact, he was online telling people, you don't have to be in the same room with clients. All you have to do is get on a platform like Zoom or Skype, and you can absolutely have successful sessions with those clients. How tailor-made was the pandemic for him in being able to share those techniques with hypnotherapists, because now that's become very commonplace. He was awarded the Hypnotism Achievement Award in 2013 by the NGH for his commitment, dedication, and contributions to the world of hypnosis. He was also named Hypnotist of the Year in 2016, no small accomplishment. And in 2020, he was recognized for his outstanding professional contributions to hypnosis by the International Certification Board of Clinical Hypnotherapy. Again, high honors. One of his most favorite accolades, according to him, is that he is past president of the ASPH, the highest honor of all.
Yeah.
Michael has trained and certified over 300 students in stage and clinical hypnosis from over 13 countries. that is absolutely outstanding, to share his knowledge and wisdom, his professionalism and his techniques with students and help them enter this world and help other people in this world become more fulfilled human beings is just a major accomplishment. When he's not seeing clients or in a pandemic lockdown or even being a COVID patient, you can see him live on stage in Hypnomania just off Fremont Street in downtown Las Vegas at the Downtown Grand Hotel and Casino. Tonight, Michael is going to be sharing his newest program, Pandemic Stress Reduction, which is designed to help people get through and overcome the stress caused by the pandemic. So applicable not only to us as hypnotherapists, hypnotists, professionals, but also to every single client that walks in our door. This program will help clients to not just survive, but thrive during and after these times of global uncertainty, as well as how to effectively manage the grief-like process that people are experiencing as a direct result of the stress, shock, and fear we're all experiencing on a daily basis. As a bonus, Michael will share with us his secret to adapting to the changing landscape of our profession and what we'll need to do to stay in business for years to come. Can't wait to hear this. Michael, without further ado.
Thank you so much, Skip. That was awesome. Wow. So a little quick background. I want to take you back about 2.5 years. I was still living in Arizona. I had been president of the ASPH a few years before that and thoroughly enjoyed that. That was it still is such an amazing organization. I know Lindsay was instrumental in really starting the whole thing up many years ago. And I'm thankful for that. My first encounter with ASPH was searching for an organization, a club, if you will, in Arizona that supported hypnotists. And of course, at the time I was an NGH member and still am. But there wasn't really we had an NGH chapter, but it was 3 or 4 of us. And it was really kind of lame. So I was looking for another organization to belong to and to fellowship with other hypnotists. So I remember getting online and searching organizations in Arizona, and this really crappy website came up. It was ASPH, and the logo was horrendous. And God, I hope as I say that, Lindsay, you didn't design that logo. But if you did, my apologies, but it was a real piece of crap. But anyways, so I looked at it and I looked at the website and went, this is garbage. I'm not going to go to this. And, but then I made a phone call. I made a phone call to Robert, who was our dear Robert, who was the president at the time. And it was a brief phone call. It only lasted about 4.5 weeks. Because as those of you know that knew Robert, he talked like a lot, and we became instant friends. And he said, "Come on up and give it a shot." And I went, "Okay, sure." And what's 2 hours drive here and there, right? So I went up to the meeting and I went, "Wow, this is okay. I like this. I can dig these people. I like them. These are my people." So I became a member, and in spite of the really horrible website and the logo, and later on down the road. Thomas Hayek, who's I think still involved, maybe. He had a brother who did some graphic art, and we came up with the new logo. It was really nice, and really it was just fun to watch the organization grow and prosper and share ideas. Every meeting was such a fun time because you learned something. And so I decided, though, after my daughter graduated college, my youngest daughter graduated college, that we would move. My wife and I had been wanting to move to Vegas for many years, and we kind of held off on that because my youngest daughter was still in college. So 2.5 years ago, she graduated college. We sold the house in 7 days in Tucson. I remember going to my final ASPH meeting live, and I was met there with this wonderful gift. It was a wooden pen and letter opener set, and had my name laser engraved on the top. I was so honored and touched by that, and by all the nice things that were spoken. It was much like as though I was going to my own funeral, and because people were speaking as if I was never coming back and like I was really gone already. And so I enjoyed that, though. But it was, and I said, "I'm not dead, people. I'm just moving." And for the record, I was not asked to leave. I was not asked to leave the state, for the record. Okay, and the jokes don't get a whole lot better in this presentation. So we moved to Vegas. I wanted to move to a place that was just nonstop fun and pleasure. and then we went in pandemic lockdown. When I moved here, I had a decision to make. Would I open an office? Would I not? So about 6 to 8 months, maybe even 9 months to a year prior to the move, I decided to transition to a virtual practice. I wasn't keen on the idea at first, but I thought, well, I'm pretty cheap. And so I don't want to rent an office in Las Vegas. Office rent's a little bit more expensive. And I don't want to drive to an office. I don't want to do all those things. I really wanted to focus on more on my performance and then see clients in between online, have laptop, will travel, can see clients anywhere, anytime, any place. So I started figuring out that there were no platforms really that were plug and play. You couldn't go to Walmart and say, how do I do this? And I want to buy this program that allows me to integrate everything. So I had to create everything by myself. I created my entire program, my website, the integration, the system that talks to each other. My calendaring talks to my payment portal, which talks to Zoom, which sends out email reminders, which in essence, if they don't schedule a consultation with me and just sign up for a program, I never have to see a client until our very first session. Everything is entirely automated. So I'm quite proud of that accomplishment. And I can talk more about that a little bit later about one of the things you need to do really to prepare to keep your business going in the future. But then it was about in December of last year, Richard Nongard, who's a very dear friend of mine, called me. He also lived in Vegas, just moved to Texas, by the way. So just also lived in Vegas. And he said, and I'll do my Richard Nongard impersonation, DeSchalit, I've got an idea. We should rent an office together. And I said, that's a stupid idea, Richard. I'll never do that. How much? And he said, well, if we can get Kevin Cole in on it, and I think Martin Castor Peterson from Denmark wants in on it, it would only be $200 a month. I'm like, that's it? And so he found this office, and it had 2 training rooms. One of them was like a reception area, but it could be used as a breakout room. And he's training comfortably sat about 20 people. And then I had a therapy room right in the middle. And I thought, I'll probably never use the therapy room, but the training facility was very appealing to me. So the 4 of us signed up, and we got this office. I used it once for training, and then we went into pandemic lockdown. So I've been seeing clients online ever since. And fortunately, our landlord said, you know what? I'm just going to let you guys out of the lease for the last month's rent. And I'm like, all right. So I had an office for 3 or 4 months in Vegas and never got to use it. It's really awesome. Once anyways. So I want to tell you a little story. It was March 15th of this year. I was standing backstage in my theater, the Spare Room at the Downtown Grand. The show is called Don Barnhart's Hypnomania. Don Barnhart's a great hypnotist, comedian, stand-up comedian, I think originally from the Phoenix area. Wonderful hypnotherapist, doesn't do much of the therapy side, but more stage and performing. He also runs 2 other comedy clubs here in Vegas, 2 comedy shows, Jokesters and Delirious. Well, in the particular showroom, the Spare Room, there were 3 shows going on in that showroom at all times. There was a magic show, Presto, Leslie McKinney's Presto Magic Show, very nice little family-friendly show, Hypnomania, and then Delirious Comedy Club. Well, the hotel didn't really want Don to be in both shows, and Don didn't really want to be in both shows, Hypnomania and Delirious, nor did he, and then he'd drive across town to do Jokesters later on that night at the Hooters Casino. So he said, you know what, how would you like to do some spots on the show? So there were a few of us hypnotists that were set to rotate, much like comedians do at a comedy club. And towards the very end, I was doing most of the shows there at the theater. So March 15th, I was standing backstage, and the comic that was going to open for me, very, very astute gentleman, very, very professional. Comedy was his sort of second twilight kind of hobby / career. Very funny man. We had a serious conversation backstage, and he said, you know, things are not looking good. And I wouldn't be surprised if the National Guard isn't called in when they entirely lock down the city. And I'm like, what are you talking about, man? I know you make a joke in your comedy routine about smoking dope at 411 or 420 every day. right? That's the dope sign, 420. I said, but I don't really think you smoke dope. And he goes, no, I don't smoke dope. I'm like, then what absurdities are spewing from your gullet? Lockdown Las Vegas? What the hell, man? And it was the next day that the governor ordered by midnight that night that all casinos would be shut down. So my life fairly ended. Everything that I'd worked for in my professional career to have my own Vegas show, or at least to be a headliner in a Vegas show, ended abruptly. My identity was stripped from me. I was no longer a headliner in Hypnomania. I was now just a hypnotist as I was before. It was devastating. I'll be honest with you and say that it was probably one of the most devastating blows I've had to endure in my show business career. I know the show will eventually come back when we're allowed to touch people and be closer than 6 feet from people and all that. But nonetheless, it was devastating. I know we'll be back. The comedy clubs are back, but they have to remain so far from their audience. It's impossible to do a hypnosis show. So I know we will be back at some time. I jokingly say it'll be July of the year 2037. So mark your calendars now. But I'll be ready when it happens. So in the meantime, I had to figure out how to transition to entirely working hypnosis or hypnotherapy, we'll call it, online full time. The first thing I did and realized that at least I have a platform to do this. At least I have the skills and the mindset to do this. However, I knew a lot of other hypnotists did not. So I launched an online training that helped other hypnotists. I had about 15 hypnotists in the training program to teach them how to do what I do, to teach them how to automate their system, to teach them how to make everything flow simply and easily and fluidly for the clients. But then I started realizing that I was dealing still with a lot of my own demons, if you will, AKA the pandemic shutdown. I'm a very sociable person. Oh, by the way, recently I got COVID. And so if I sound a little raspy and have to take a drink now and then, if I get into a little coughing fit, I'll try to mute myself so I don't cough in your ears. But I recently had COVID, and it took me 18 days to get to, I think I'm on day 19 now, to get to where I'm upright and I can function almost at a 95% level. I still get a little winded. It was a horrible, horrible experience. Please don't get it. If you can avoid it, wear your mask, do all the things you're supposed to be doing to avoid it. It's not fun. It's like having the stomach flu for 2 weeks straight. No energy, no ability to even stand up to brush my teeth. So I survived that. But before that, though, I was dealing with a lot of my demons. I'm a sociable person. I'm very much a social butterfly. Being in a show, shaking hands with every single person in the audience as they're leaving the theater was a big deal to me. That was important to me. Being able to go out, being able to enjoy the nightlife of Vegas and see shows. I've seen probably over 75 to 100 shows in the 2.5 years that I've been here. There's usually not a week that goes by that I don't see a show of some sort. So I'm sociable. I like to be out there. And so being in seclusion and lockdown was, excuse me, not conducive to my lifestyle. I started realizing at that point then, there was a need for a program. Now, I want to say this rather loudly and clearly. I don't believe people should be making money off of the pandemic. I don't believe that there should be opportunistic jerkwads that are just using the pandemic as an income source and capitalizing on all that has caused people and all that people are still going through just to turn a buck. However, at the same time, I do believe that we all have a skill set that most people don't have. And we have an understanding and knowledge that most people don't. And that is, like Caryn so eloquently spoke of, really the power of your mind. That professional mindset, that peak performance mindset. We have this ability and we have this skill, and it's our duty and obligation to share that with the world. Now, obviously, Henry Ford said it best. He said, if you want to, the best way to help the poor is don't become one of them. So you should charge money for what you do. And you should not feel bad about making money, helping people through this hard time. Just don't be a opportunistic, capitalistic jerk and overcharge people just because you think you can. I'm very firm on that. However, I do think you should charge a pretty penny for what you do, because you are going to save, not just change, but you are going to save people's lives with this program and every other program that you offer. If you help somebody to quit smoking, let me tell you, if I was a smoker and had to go through COVID, I would have been dead. It would not have worked out well for anybody. So we have an obligation to charge money for what we do, and we have an obligation to share the knowledge and the skills that we have and to sell those services. So I want to jump into now this pandemic program. I'm going to share my screen with you, and I'm going to actually just share a little PowerPoint with you. You're going to see the back end of the PowerPoint too, but this way I can see my screen and you can see everything. Can you all see that right now? Can you give me a thumbs up or a heads up nod? Somebody? Okay, good. What if I change screens? Are you able to see that different screen now? Very good. Okay, good. Everything will work just fine then. We should be okay. Now the program is, I struggled with the name of the program for a while. I wanted it to be called PPSD, sort of a play on the PTSD, and it was going to be post-pandemic stress dysfunction. It's not a disorder, it's a dysfunction. Things are not out of order, they're just not functioning properly. I struggled with that because, you know what, I realized that people needed it now, not necessarily post-pandemic. So I changed it to pandemic stress reduction. Well, I first changed it to pandemic stress dysfunction, and I didn't like that anymore because dysfunction just sounds like my family, and so we don't need to bring them into all of that. So yes, I put the fun back in dysfunction. So I decided to change it to pandemic stress reduction. It's going through another iteration actually, as I just completed a website for it not too long ago. And now it's actually pandemic stress release. Because reduction is good, but I'd much rather just release it, put it in a box, put it someplace that you don't need it and you don't use it anymore, and move on with your life. And so how to mentally survive a pandemic. In the notes that I'll offer to you at the end of this, there are other subtitles that I came up with that are a little bit funny. One is, I think, something to the effect of how to survive a pandemic and come out with most of your mind left, but probably not much of your wallet. Because, of course, economically, it's been a drain on everybody. I also, in addition to doing the show, I missed out about 50 shows on tour this year for after proms and grad nights. So 60% of my income vanished this year. So economically, it was disturbing, to say the least. Fortunately, I'm a smart entertainer, and I believe in calling it, instead of show business, the business of show. So I have money in the bank, and I'm able to survive this coming out basically unscathed. It just pisses me off that I have to use my savings when I should be making money. So how to mentally survive a pandemic. Let me go through some key points on this. As I mentioned before, it's not a disorder. Things are not out of order. They're just not functioning the way we want them to. Now, for the love of God, people, I need us all to start doing what we're really good at, and that's reframing. If I hear the words spoken by anybody, this is the new normal, one more time, I will shove a plastic spoon in their neck. This is not the new normal. If you get anything out of today, hear me when I say this. This is not the new normal. Stop saying that. That's not fair to yourself, and that's not fair to the people around you, and that's not fair to your clients. And quickly be one to correct somebody. Normalcy changes constantly. There is no such thing as normal for good. There is no constant normal. If you find yourself stuck in a constant normal, I've got bad news for you. You're probably dead. Normalcy changes constantly. Normalcy is fluid. There's economic normalcy. There's cultural normalcy, societal normalcy, familial normalcy, political normalcy. If you don't think that normalcy changes, look at the last one, political. Okay, we won't go there. Whatever your beliefs are, I'm pleased that you believe that way, and I respect that opinion. But political normalcy will change. It happens every time there's a new president. Economic normalcy changes every time there's a new president, because the market is built on rumor and speculation entirely. I know this because I used to be a mortgage banker a long, long time ago, and I watch the market all the time. And there's only really a few things that affect the market. War and unemployment are the biggest ones, but mostly it's rumor and speculation. And let's face it too, you all know this culturally. We're coming up on this juncture in our life right now. We call it New Year's Eve. How many of you have ever found yourself on New Year's Eve, when the clock strikes 12:01 into the new year, you say, oh, thank God that year is over. And now we can start with a clean slate. Well, bullpucky. It's just a minute later, your problems are still there. However, I'm never going to argue with anybody who says, I'm so glad that year's done. We can start off with a clean slate. Yes, you can, because the slate is right up here. So cultural changes, societal changes, familial changes. Our family is not normal anymore. Well, we never really were normal to begin with. But it's weird when you have to stay home all the time. Now, not so much for my wife and I, we both work out of the house. My daughter was a little bit more precarious. You know, she's 22, going to be 23 this month. And so she likes to go out with her boyfriend, and she likes to do the Vegas scene. And quite honestly, so do I. So our familiar structure has changed a little bit too. Fortunately, we have not killed each other yet. So this is good. So all these things are normalcy, and they all change. So please, for the love of God, do not say this is the new normal. And I don't know how it's going to change, but when the vaccine comes out, there will be another major shift. We hear it now that, you know, Broadway is not going to show any shows until the year 2093 now, or whatever they're saying, whatever ridiculousness they're saying. When the vaccine comes out and we get a handle on this thing, guess what? Schools will reopen. Broadway shows will come back. We are Americans. We don't sit still long enough to have a constant normal. So what's happening now, though? Higher than normal rates of PTSD, depression, domestic violence, and suicide. If you don't believe me, look at the numbers. They're there. Plus, we're seeing an increase in clinical clients because people are losing their minds. They are. I've had the weirdest clients that I can't begin to tell you about. Even we could speak about them on a professional level, but I've had some doozies, kids. Some stuff where I just shake my head and go, I don't know how you come up with this. If Stephen King could get his hands on your recording, he would write a book, a movie, and make billions of you. So increasing clinical clients for a lot of different things, even the normal things like smoking cessation. A lot of people are realizing now that breathing is important, especially in a pandemic. So they're wanting to quit smoking. Weight loss too, because obviously if you're overweight or obese, you're more at risk to the virus. Fear, stress, anxiety, depression, loss, germophobia. Oh my gosh, if you haven't seen any of those clients yet, I wonder. Agoraphobia. Excuse me. Weight loss, smoking cessation, confidence. How many people have literally gotten the rug pulled out from underneath them with lack of confidence because their whole world was shaken up? Oh, wait a minute. That's me. I did a total of 3 shows this year from March 15th until present day. So 2 shows in Texas where they insisted on having a graduation party for the seniors. And Texas, they don't believe in the virus because it's Texas and they're bigger than the virus. We did not social distance. We did not wear masks. We did not do anything differently than we normally would have. And everybody came out unscathed. Thank God. Iowa, I did a show in Iowa and they felt the same way. It was a small town. Everybody knew everybody. And if one person got COVID, well, basically the whole town was going to get it. Nobody got it. We did things safely. We temperature checked. We did all that, but there was still not a lot of mask wearing and all those things. But we did it and we survived it. And it was just really an interesting situation. So the whole mind-body system is out of synchronicity. Our services are going to be in higher demand as this pandemic progresses. And when the pandemic is over, people are going to realize they have to go back to work. They're no longer going to be working from home. There's going to be so many fears that are going to expose themselves because of this. There are going to be nuclear families that are disrupted because of this. The whole mind-body system is out of synchronicity, and that affects the whole family synchronicity too. So we're going to be in high demand as we continue on throughout from this day forward. Now, one last note on this is the mind-body system really being out of synchronicity. We have to attack this holistically on every mental level. So what I've discovered in dealing with clients throughout this pandemic is that they're dealing with a grieving process, very similar to the death of a loved one or the death of a family or friend, very similar to losing a loved one or a relationship, a divorce, a separation. There is a grieving process that's natural to all of these losses that we're going to experience. This one's a little bit more complex though. We're dealing with more than just loss. This is something that most of us have never experienced before to this magnitude in this way that we're experiencing it now. And I know there's some older folks who lived through the last pandemic, which happened during Woodstock. People forget about these things. Life did not end the way it ended with this one. So it was different. And it's something that nobody has experienced before. And they talk about being unprecedented times. I'm not real happy with those words either, but they're a little bit truer than new normal. So we are in unprecedented times because we have no precedent. We've never done this before. We've dealt with viruses before, but nothing like this. This is brutal. It changes, it morphs. The symptomatology is just all across the board. One day you have a fever, the next day you have chills, the next day you want to throw up, the next day you want to eat. There's just really no consistency with this thing. It changes like the wind. So we've never experienced anything the way we've experienced this one because none of us have any experience on this. So this is all new to us and we're all still trying to figure it out. And the really bad part about it is let's throw on the media, social and or news media. Let's throw them into the mix too. And I'm not going to rag on social media or the media. And depending on which statement you watch, which one's right, which one's wrong, I quite honestly think none of them are telling the truth. Not a conspiracy theory, just my thoughts. I also know too that social media, if you haven't watched, I forgot what it's called. It's on Netflix. It's the Social Media Revolution or something like that. I don't remember what it is. Anyways, I watched it, scared the hell out of me. Most of the people that created the social media platforms that are still in existence today no longer have social media accounts, nor did they have their family have one either. Social media is the devil. However, we're all addicted to it and we all get on it and we believe what we want to believe. We don't believe what we don't want to believe. And then we post our opinions and piss off everybody that we know. So as often as you get on your phone is as often as this trauma changes and evolves inside of yourself. So it mutates hourly for most of us. I know I've gone 3 or 4 days without watching the news, and then I try to watch the local news. I want to see what's going on in Vegas. And then they say something on the national level, and it just a downward spiral all over again. Either depression or anger. It's so confusing. I don't know if I'm happy, sad, or angry at any given point in the day. So honestly, this changes not just virally, as speaking of the virus itself, but also it changes socially. So let's talk about this grieving process. And I mentioned it's similar to the grieving process that people experience after the loss of a loved one. I think that's a duplicate slide. Thank you very much for noticing that. There we go. Here we go. Let's talk about the 7 stages of grieving. This is the Kubler-Ross model for those of you psychologists and psychiatrists out there. Shock, denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and seeking. That's a loose interpretation. I might have changed a couple of them a little bit, but that's basically it. How many of you have experienced, just by a quick show of hands, one or more of those emotions or emotional states in the last, we'll say the last 24 hours? If you haven't, you've probably been dead for a couple of weeks. How about in the last 2 weeks? How about in the last 2 months? How about any time during this pandemic? And I know I remember, and Caryn, you know I love you with all of my heart. And I remember listening to you speak at the Canadian Hypnosis Conference. And I remember you telling your story about Josh just upping and leaving you guys that letter. And I went, what the hell? I could not imagine. I was in tears in the audience because I could not imagine being a parent. The horror and the fear and the shock and the denial. Are these starting to sound familiar to you? The bargaining, the depression, and the seeking that was going through your mind. I have no idea how you were so calm. And then Josh's passing. And I remember having a conversation with you on Zoom. We were going to do a seminar, an online seminar you're hosting. And I didn't really know. I didn't really know how to ask you, but I wanted to know how you were doing, and I wanted you to know that you're loved and that you're thought about all the time. And you chimed back right away. I'm doing great. I'm like, okay, great. She's in that stage now. And yep, I analyzed you, dear, because I love you and I care. And but I just remember her talking about some of these stages. And I can't imagine. I lost my father when I was 14 years old to a tragic work accident. He was basically working under the boxcars on the railroad. He did refrigeration systems, and they moved the train, and he was cut into 3 pieces. I remember the shock and the denial. And as Caryn said, she wasn't even able to cry. I remember it was a half day my senior year in high school. My freshman year in high school. It was the end of the first quarter. We had quarters back then. So we had quarter exams, and we went home. My dad's birthday was 4 days away. So my mom picked me up from school as I was just a freshman and did not drive. We went to Whataburger and had lunch. And then we went to Park Place Mall, which was Park Mall back then. We went to Things Remembered, and I bought him a pewter keychain with his initials engraved for his birthday. I went home and I was tired, and I fell asleep in the TV room in the back of the house. And I remember being awoken by a police officer who said, "Son, you need to go out to the living room. Your mom needs you. Your dad was killed at work today." And it's a hell of a way to come out of trance. As you know, hypnopompia, we pass through as we awake from a natural sleep state. And so you're very suggestible and very hypnoidal at that point. And to hear those words, they did not register. And I'm a pretty heavy sleeper anyways, even on a nap. It just didn't register. And I just remember walking in a trance-like state down the hallway into the living room where my mom was sobbing, and I couldn't cry. I had no idea what to experience. And it wasn't until about, I want to say about 14, 15 years later, when I was able to see the crime scene photos. It was deemed a crime scene because they suspected foul play at one point or another. So I was able to see the crime scene photos because obviously due to the condition of the body, it was a closed casket funeral. There wasn't much really that you wanted to see. But I needed to see the pictures. I needed to have that closure. I needed to finally accept and believe that my dad was dead. That sounds bizarre and crazy. But if you've gone through something like that, it makes perfect sense to you. So the stages of pandemic grieving process are very similar: shock, denial, anger, fear, sadness, creation, evolution, change or adaptation, and reinvention. Now, the last two, evolution, change or adaptation, and reinvention, conquering. Actually, the last three, I'll even go that far by saying creation. Those are all ones that we have to help a client pass through. We have to provide that opportunity for them to experience those. They will experience the shock, the denial, the anger, the fear, and the sadness all on their own. I've experienced all of them in the weirdest sense, and in not necessarily in that order. I think denial was the first one. When Guy, my comic, my opener, said, yeah, they're going to lock down Vegas. I'm like, dude, seriously, is that some sort of a joke? Because it's really not that funny. There was no way they would ever lock down Vegas, the city that never sleeps. Sorry, New York, we're stealing it. And the city that's always fun. Casinos don't have locks on their doors. A week later after the lockdown, my wife and I drove down the strip because we were absolutely going bat crap crazy in our house. And we wanted to photo document what we had experienced. It was like driving down an abandoned city. There were a few cars out, a few crazies like us that wanted to go see what was going on. And in front of the Bellagio, one of the classier places in Vegas, they had plywood on the revolving doors. Because the revolving doors, they never installed locking mechanisms. They don't close. It was one of the most depressing things. Sadness quickly creeped in. Anger, you stole my show from me. You stole my livelihood. You told me I can no longer do what I do. I can't travel. I can't go do shows. How it all played out was really surreal, because in a matter of one day, there were actually some friends of mine traveling from Tucson with my parents. They were here for the NCAA final or tournament in March, and they were able to see the first game, and then the second game they said, well, no fans, we're gonna close it down, no fans at all. And then they ended up just canceling the whole tournament. So they were in town, and I remember everybody in my living room, and this was the day after the lockdown. So Tuesday, St. Paddy's Day, which for the first year ever, I was going to be able to go on Fremont Street, drink green beer, eat corned beef and cabbage. I had the night off. I had no show, not because of the pandemic, because Tuesday I was dark and I had no traveling to do. I was so damn excited. I'm not even Irish, but I wanted to celebrate St. Paddy's Day in pure Vegas style. I probably would have worn a kilt, commando style. Maybe not. I'll let you run with that one in your own private mind. But Jody, that's sick. Stop laughing. But I did want to go out and party. So the anger set in, the denial, the shock, the sadness, all set in. And then I realized, fortunately for me rather quickly, that I had to create. I had to come up with something to help myself and other people. Evolution took over then, change and adaptation. This program changes, like in the course of the last few days, has changed from pandemic stress reduction to pandemic stress release. I don't know. I hope it doesn't change anymore. I can't buy any more domain names for a while. I'm on restriction. But that change and that adaptation, if you're not constantly changing and adapting, again, you're dead. Reinvention. If you haven't started reinventing yourself, what a better time to do it now. I know that some hypnotists have tried to do virtual online shows. That will never, ever happen in my world. I'm pretty convinced I will never, ever do that. I've seen some others try it, and it was a miserable, horrible, disastrous failure. Not because of their skill level. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. So there are certain things you can't adapt to or change. So you have to reinvent them. So I've already started reinventing my show. Actually, my show's reinvented. If I need to, I can social distance. If I need to, I can have people 6 feet apart. If I need to, I can not touch them. If I need to, I can do a show, maintaining all social boundaries that we need to maintain in a state of pandemia. The moral of the story is we've all gone through these grieving stages: shock, denial, anger, fear, and sadness at the very least. Not necessarily in any show order, but we've all gone through them. This is universally global, that we all go through this grieving process. I have friends, I have clients all around the world. I have coaching clients in Australia that tell me in Melbourne, which I was just in Melbourne in November teaching a stage hypnosis class, and now they have some of the strictest lockdown in the world. They couldn't go more than 5 kilometers from their house, and they had to do it within an hour. And that was just horrible. It was destroying people's lives. And it's new to all of us. So we have no historical experience in which to deal with this. Hence the creation, evolution, changing or adapting, and reinvention, conquering and moving forward. So how do we help clients navigate through all this? And I'm checking my time here, I'm still good. We've got to deal with it on every single level. Now, I know that there's different theories in hypnosis, past life regression or regression, dealing with the past. Some people say, don't deal with the past, deal with the present, the future. Some people say, just deal with the future and future pace. Some people say, you got to deal with the past and the present's only temporary. Well, whatever you subscribe to, I'm certain it's working well for you. However, I'm going to encourage you to do so with the past, the present, and future in mind. The past, we have to address and release the trauma they've gone through. We got to address it. It's fresh, it's raw, it's still an open, bleeding, pussing, infected wound. For everybody, every client that I've dealt with, they are still pissed off about what has happened. They are still angry. They are still depressed. They are still sad. They are still feeling every single emotional level. It's raw. We need to deal with it. And we need to deal with it head on. We don't have to relive it, but certainly we need to address it and put it in its place in the past, shelf it, box it, warehouse it, store it, put it, whatever term you want to use, whatever term is best for your client, that's the term you'll use. I give my clients the supposition that they can put it in a filing cabinet, the bottom drawer in the very back, not like in the top drawer you're to alphabetize everything where the important documents are, but in the bottom drawer in the very back where that bottle of scotch is that you don't really get into very often, or those pictures you don't look at. You can stick it in there, put it in a room in the very back part of your mind, close the door. The door has windows, but you can draw a shade on those windows. You can bolt that door shut. You know that it's there if you need to go back and learn from it, but you don't need to look at it every single day. You need to deal with the present, meeting them at their current mental state. Wherever they're at, that's where you will meet them. That's where your starting point is. There is no order to this. Remember, it's not there's no order to this. It's not, the grieving doesn't always happen in a certain order. So you have to meet them at their current mental state or their stage of grieving. Meet your clients always, not just for this program, but always meet them where they're at. You can't treat every client exactly the same. This is why most of us, I'm certain, do client-centered hypnosis. It's about the client, not what we think is the right thing to do. We have tools, we have techniques, we will insert them as necessary, but we will listen, as Caryn talked about, to the client's needs first. And then future, equip them with the tools to deal with this because they may experience it again. Hopefully not. Hopefully we get a vaccine and everything gets flushed out and we don't have to go through this pandemia and this lockdown and all this other hoo-ha again. Equip them with the tools to deal with this with the hopes that they won't experience it again, but to catch it before it becomes a problem if they do, to future pace them into what life is going to look like. Now, one of my coaching clients from Australia, she gets so irritated with me, as most of my coaching clients do, because they know that I care so much that my job is to irritate them enough to cause them to get angry, upset, and motivated to make a change, hopefully in the appropriate way of all those reasons, which is the genie process that Caryn talked about, is It's really just lighting a fire under somebody's butt. So they're willing to fight you for the changes that they want. And when somebody gets to that level, then nothing can stop them from achieving success. So I can talk more about that a little bit later. So how to deal with this in case they do experience it again in the future. I want to quickly get through some other things here. So the hypnotherapy strategy, again, working with each client at every stage singularly, at whatever level they're at. Help the client future pace their desired outcome and create the expectation of that. The client, my coaching client that I was referring to, she's so angry with me because all the time I tell her, this is only temporary. And she's like, this is the longest damn temporary lockdown we've ever been in, 90 days. And I'm like, it's temporary, okay? In a year, we're all gonna look back and this just laugh like, well, probably not. We're all gonna look back at this and go, yeah, that was so 2020. And we're in 2021 now. We are all gonna look back at this and realize that it was only a speed bump in our road to life. It was not a permanency. It is not the damn new normal. Okay? It was the normal temporarily. Now, does that dot connect for you? I hope. Set goals for each stage and each session and keep it client-centered at all times. This isn't about your vast knowledge, what you know, and what you think is the right script or all that stuff, because the client is going to tell you what they need to hear, and that's what you're going to deliver to them. Again, another attribute of the Genie process is helping them discover and create their own script, because people want to hear what they want to hear. And that's the thing they're least likely going to resist. So your job is to guide them and lead the witness down the right path to get to those suggestions. So use any combination of the following strategies at each level. Past, addressing and releasing the trauma they have gone through. Present, meeting them at their current mental state or stage of grieving, meeting them where they're at and whatever stage of grieving that is. Future, equip them with the tools to deal with this as they may experience it again. Hopefully not, but they'll be more prepared to deal with it. Now, what about questions? Before we get to that, let me just mention briefly here that if you go to www.hypnonotes.com, you're going to go to a website where I'm going to ask you for your name and email address. Please read the comment I make on there about spam. I'll tell you what it is now, but I put it in writing for your benefit. I am not going to spam you. I'm not going to send you senseless emails and try to sell you stuff. I'm not that smart, quite honestly. You will be put in a database. If there is anything that I think you might be of interest, I'll send you an email. And if you don't like it, just please just hit unsubscribe. I'm okay with that. But I'm not going to send you stuff senselessly. The only thing you're going to get from me in the near future is actually a copy of my outline of this presentation. So not necessarily the PowerPoint, but pretty much everything that's detailed there. So if you go to hypnonotes.com, put in your name and email address, it's going to take you to a thank you page. There'll be a button. You press that button, you instantly download your notes. At the bottom of that page, you'll see a couple of other options that I do have, programs that I do sell that are pre-recorded trainings. One is the Genie process, and one is a program I'd like to share with you now. It's a coaching program. In the notes, it'll detail what I offer in this coaching program. What I've discovered is that there are a lot of hypnotists that need help. This is new to them. They've never experienced this before. They've never experienced having to go all online or how to automate their system to go all online. So over the past couple of years, I've been coaching hypnotists on their business strategies and skills. My coaching programs are just like my regular client programs. They are client-centered. So this is about you, not about me. One of the very first questions I will ask you, and your homework assignment before I accept you as a coaching client, is you're going to need to tell me what you know and what you don't know, even though you don't know what you don't know. What you think is going to help you get to your next level, because I want to get you to your next level. And I have enough experience now that I can successfully help you to overcome some of the obstacles that I've experienced and that you're experiencing now. And I will custom tailor the coaching program for you. In addition to that, I'm going to throw in some other value for you, about to the tune of $1,500 of pre-recorded programs. I'm going to give you the Genie process in entirety, so you will know how to do that process. Excuse me. I think it's about 6 to 8 hours of video, as well as the scripting that goes with it, as well as with all of my programs. All of my students will tell you, you have lifetime access to me. As a student of mine, you can call me anytime. You have my telephone number. I will answer your questions. I will be there for you even well after our training is done. I like to fondly say to all my clients and my coaching clients, my students, there are 2 things that will keep me from you, and that is a restraining order. So thank you for laughing at that one, Skip. I was holding that one towards the end for you there, buddy. So restraining order, that'll keep me from you. Otherwise, I'm not going to call you all the time and see how you're doing. I'm going to put the onus on you. But if you need my help, you better call me. There's not a day or a week that goes by that I don't get several phone calls from several coaching clients, hypnosis students that have studied with me in the past. So I do have this coaching program. It is a 4-month program. It is 2 sessions a month. The sessions are 2 hours each. So you get me for a total of, let's see, that's 2, 4, 6, 16 hours. I had to do the math on that one. You get me for a total of 16 hours. I am limited to the amount of coaching clients that I can accept because I have clients as well too. And I want to make sure that I'm not spreading myself too thin and I can't concentrate on you. We put 2 weeks in between the coaching sessions because I want you to put the rubber to the road. I want you to experience success, and I want you also to experience any failure that you're going to experience so that we can celebrate that and move on and correct it. I will also teach you this pandemic stress release program as well too. You will also receive my hypnotic gastric band system training program and certification. So you will be a certified practitioner in my hypnotic gastric band system, which was written about 8 years ago by Jerry Valley and myself. You get all the manual, you get all the materials, you get the full certification. To do all that, it's very similar to Sheila Granger's gastric band system, our virtual gastric band system. Sheila and I are very good friends. We know we sell something very similar. She's a wonderful lady. It's similar to that, but different enough to where it offers some different types of styles and things that have been very, very successful for me with thousands of weight loss clients. So you'll get all of that. Plus, we will work on the things you need to work on. Everything from setting up a session for success, all the way to marketing strategies, how to get more business, how to do some of the things that I even do too, like automate my system. If that's what you want to work on, I will teach you how to automate your system. I will tell you to automate your system to be fully automated like mine is, where everything talks to each other. Costs me about $30 a month to do that. So I'm not going to teach you something that's going to cost you $1 million. My rent is $30 a month. So it's pretty easy to crack that nut. That's not including my internet service, because I would have internet anyways, so that I can go to wonderful meetings like this online and search eBay and do my Christmas shopping. But $30 a month for the platforms. They're not sold through me. They're just platforms that you can get, including to even online forms are sent to the client automatically, so that my intake forms are done for me as well too. I don't have to do a damn thing to show up and see my clients. And I'm quite proud of that. So I can teach you that as well too. I can teach you whatever it is you need to get yourself to that next level. To do that, you can click the button that's on the bottom of the thank you page when you go to HypnoNotes, or you can contact me. There's my telephone number, my 800 number, and I believe my direct line is also listed on the note page that you're going to get from this. Contact me. Like I said, I can probably only take a couple coaching clients. So for the next day, the first couple people that call me, that's who I'll accept, and everybody else, I would have to put you on a waiting list. I'm not going to discuss the price with you right now. I will tell you this though, it is at a deep, deep discount from what I normally charge, because this is my family. ASPH are my family. So I'm offering to you at a discount. And I was thinking about this while Caryn was speaking. If you sign up for my coaching program, I will make a donation in your name and mine to ASPH of 10%. So now I have Jody's attention. She's the treasurer. So I know you guys usually have a holiday party. I don't think you had one this year, but so next year you'll have a better holiday party. So that's what I have. That's what I've been up to. That's what I'm doing. Quickly to really, I'm going to stop sharing my screen right now too, because I do see some questions are popping up here in the chat. We attend to those. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Thank you, Mary. Or I'm sorry, Marley. Glasses, close to screen. Yes, very good. And thank you, Pat and Caryn also as well. So really to further yourself, it's quite simple. Automate your system. Be prepared to see clients online. Even after this pandemic's over, there's really no need for people to come to a stuffy hypnosis office if they don't want to. The clients I deal with mostly too, the higher end clients, they don't want to come to an office. The clients that I'm seeing that I'm charging them, $2,500 for a program, for a 4-session program, those coaching clients, and this is not the coaching program I'm talking about with you guys, those coaching clients that are seeing me for 4 sessions and are paying me that amount of money to do it, they don't have the time to come to an office. They want to meet me on the road. They want to meet me in their hotel room. They want to meet me wherever they need to meet me. So the way the system is set up, the way it's automated, allows me the luxury of doing this. I saw a client in Disneyland while I was on a family vacation. Now, before you poo-poo me for taking time away from my family, I did not. My daughter and wife were riding the Mickey and Friends roller coaster thing that does upside down and makes me want to puke. So I told them I'm going to go deal with the client because the client needs me to help them. And the client knew that I was at Disneyland, and they knew that I was in the quietest area I can find and the most private area I can find. So everything was confidential and all that stuff. But I dealt with them on my cell phone. And I don't mean dealt with them, that sounds so horrible. I worked with them on my cell phone, and they were very much grateful for what we were able to accomplish in just 20 minutes, just a quick follow-up, just a checkup from the neck up. So you can do this anywhere, anytime, any place. Tablet, cell phone, laptop, you don't need much to do this. My real challenges for you are how do you market in a pandemic? So that's some of the things we can talk about too in a coaching program. But really, the best advice I can give you is be flexible, be ever changing, create all the time, look for new ways to help people, and look for ways to automate your system to make it the easiest, the flawless, and the simplest way to connect with somebody online. That's how you stay in business over the next 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 10 years, 20 years. Because let's face it, there are a lot of companies that are not going back to the office. And that's just financially a good choice for them, not because of the pandemic. Pandemic was the catalyst, but they chose not to go back. So good for them. But that means people are used to this now. 2 years ago, I had to explain Zoom a lot differently. Zoom, it's like Skype. Have you ever heard of Skype? I'm like, oh yeah, my grandkids did that once. I don't know how to do it. Well, you press this link and it'll connect, and oh my God, and you hope for the best. Now it's like, if you don't know what Zoom is, you're probably dead, or you've been living in a cave. So people are doing this all the time. My clients' age group has gone up because grandma and grandpa are now working with me, where they didn't know what technology was 9 months ago. So automate, allow yourself to be uncomfortable. If technology causes you some discomfort, you can grow. You can do it. If I did it and built my entire system, and I'm not a techie wizard, you can too. I'll show you how. Okay. Any questions at all before we wrap up? I know I'm 3 minutes over. Thank you for allowing me to go. I see Skip, he's got the hook ready. He's like, shut up, shut that guy up. Now we know why he's not president anymore.
How much equipment do you need? for virtual? Do you need special cameras? I mean, what do you?
No,
what do you-
as far as special cameras, my laptop has a camera. I do have a webcam that has a better microphone in it, and it cost me, I think, $50. I think I bought it on eBay, so I got a really good deal on it. I think if you buy it, it's just I can't show it to you because it's. You take a picture of a camera. Anyways, it looks like a little tube, and it's got a little blue light on it. It's made by Microsoft, and it's just a webcam. Any webcam really will do. You can get fancy, and you can get also an external microphone. External microphone that I use for most of my recordings. I will admit, I bought it for $9 at Walmart. I put a little puffball on the top of it, and I record in my walk-in closet because all the clothes are surrounding me, and it makes a great sound studio. It's the weirdest thing. I go into the closet, I make recordings, I come out.
I've been trying to make recordings, and there's always this white noise there. It's like I can't get rid of it.
Yeah, no, you'll get rid of that easily by going into a closet. Steve G. Jones, a good friend of mine, a multimillionaire and hypnotist, made his millions selling 99-cent hypnosis recordings online. When his office calls him and they go, "Hey, Steve, you don't have a recording for like weaving your belly button lint, do you?" And he's like, "No, but give me an hour." And if he's traveling, he literally goes into his hotel room. He has his Netbook Pro. He has a Blue Yeti microphone. It's about $125. Very high-end microphone. Cool. You don't need one, but he has one. And he plugs it in, and he puts the comforter over him on his bed, and he records. So you eliminate a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
So we can talk technology too. If
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so hopefully that answers your question. You don't need a lot of equipment though. I'm cheap.
How big of a
I really am cheap. So
Yeah.
now I do have lights. Let me see if I can do this without killing myself here. I have these lights set up, which are, you'll get the point, the umbrella lights that have the silver lining. I have these lights set up just because it's kind of dark in the room I'm in. And so that allows to give me some good lighting in the background. Those I spent $40 on eBay. You can get a ring light now for about $15 or $20, which I have one of those too, which gives you some nice illumination. I do a lot of my Zoom sessions at my dining room table. And
Well, the other question I have is about internet connection. And it's like there's so many people on the internet now with all the schooling and all this stuff that it goes in and out. So how do you deal with something like that?
Unplug your fax machine. Don't use dial-up anymore. I'm kidding. Don't really. If you do, well, we have to have an entirely different conversation. I'm gonna slap you in the head. You know what? Honestly, if you make a big deal out of it, it will be a big deal. If you lose somebody on a Zoom call, and it's only happened, quite honestly, it's only happened probably 10 times in the past 2.5 years. I jokingly, if you lose them, here's what happens. So Lynette, if we get disconnected at any time during our session, you're going to realize you're not hearing my voice anymore. You'll open your eyes because, well, you're not dead. And you'll open your eyes and you're going to reconnect. If you can't reconnect because the internet just took a crap, you got one of these, I know because you called me. Have that standing by and call me or I'll call you. I'll call you. Let's agree on that, okay? And then we'll finish up the session like this. If I lose somebody, I throw in an extra session for them because I really don't want to do this. I hate doing this. But I will throw in an extra session.
To a phone in a session. Out, I mean.
Yeah, you can. I've done it. And as long as you at least have one session with them, you got good rapport with them, you can do it. I mean, shoot, Lindsay remembers back in the day, we used to do sessions on the phone.
Right.
I mean, we used to. People did it. Dick Sutphin, who recently passed away, he made a fortune doing telephone sessions.
Wow.
It's not my preferred method. So I will always throw in a free extra session for them if that happens. But it's happened maybe 10 times. So few that I can't remember how few it's happened. One time, which was actually comical, I had a trucker who was seeing me while she was in the truck. She wasn't driving. She was in the passenger seat of the cab, 18-wheeler. She has a driving partner. He put in earbuds, listening to his music so he wasn't distracted by what we're doing. And basically, she was connected satellite to, we were using Skype back then. This is 3 or 4 years ago. And every now and then, they would hit a bump on the road. You'd see that, which was hysterical. And then I told her, I said, if I lose you, she goes, what happens if we lose connection? I said, you'll probably die. And And she said, really? And I said, no, you won't die. That's stupid. You'll open your eyes after a couple of minutes and realize that I'm not there anymore because I'm not talking.
Right.
So then we'll just reconnect. And so we lost connection one time, and an hour went by, no reconnect. 2 hours went by, no reconnect. 3 hours went by. I was convinced she died. And so, and so what happened was she lost satellite connectivity. And she called me when she got to her hotel room. Yeah. You know what? No harm, no foul. You make a big deal out of it. They make a big deal out of it.
Okay.
The worst that usually happens is you'll get the robot freeze voice.
Yeah.
And just like what happens if you're seeing a client in your office and their cell phone goes off, you incorporate it as part of the session. If you forgot to tell them to turn off their cell phone, and their cell phone rings and it says, I like big butts and I just can't lie. And it starts playing that song, you say, hey, just like you like big butts, as I do too, as those butts go drifting on by, you drift deeper into hypnosis. And as your cell phone stops ringing. And so all those, just deal with it.
Exactly.
Don't make a big deal out of it.
Okay.
Because it's not. Okay. Nobody will die. Nobody will die, I promise.
Thank you.
Justina, it's so good to see you from Canada. How are you, my love? I call her Dimples. Her nickname is Dimple, but I call her Dimples because she has a gorgeous smile. And it's so nice to see you all the way from Toronto. You're blushing too. You look a very pretty shade of red. You are so gorgeous. You know that. As all of you are. So any other questions before we wrap up? I know I've gone dreadfully over and you'll have to drive home after this meeting in Phoenix traffic. Oh no, wait a minute, sorry. That's the old ASPH.
Yeah, no, I just want to say something. I hope that everybody who is still practicing right now has decided that this is what they are going to do with their practice, because there is just no way that everything is going to come back to people wanting to be in person, especially after they've been able to work with other people who are available. One of my clients is in Brazil. I get to work with someone in Brazil from Phoenix, Arizona. And I just think that makes the entire world able to connect with you and you to be able to work with an entirely different realm of people and possibilities. So I know that there are questions. I know we don't like change a lot, but just accept it, embrace it, and know that this is the way that this world is going, and you have to get on board. Sooner or later, you're going to have to get on board if you want to continue to practice.
Yeah,
that's all.
I don't know that I'll ever rent another physical office again. However, I have some options in case I need one. I don't really, I do like seeing clients in person. This is a lot more convenient, and mostly it's more convenient for my clients. And that's who's important, not me. They are. They're the ones that call the shots. As far as, if they say they want to meet online, we meet online. If they say they want to meet in person, I have a program for that. It's a lot of money. I will fly anywhere in the world to deal with somebody, but they're going to pay me a lot of money to do so. And they understand that, and they will, and they have. So, but that's a great observation, Jody, is you really got to jump on board with this. That will sustain your business. If you have technical difficulties, I mean, honest to God, you'll be able to work through them. Your clients will be forgiving if you don't know how to share your screen with them or how to play music in the background while you're doing a session. They will forgive you for that. Plus, they probably don't even know you play music in the background when you do a session anyways. So learn, experiment. Call up your friends, Zoom with your friends, learn how to do Zoom, learn how to do stupid, goofy backgrounds, learn how to bring your tribe with you, when you have a meeting, as long as nobody would be offended by that. And hopefully nobody's offended by that. That's my tribe. They're with me. They come with me to my meetings. Learn how to have fun with this. Learn how to be goofy with your clients. Oh God, I left that backdrop on. Let me take that off. So it's not hard. Don't be afraid to push buttons. You won't break it. I haven't broke it yet. So if anybody can, I will. Yeah, jump on board, get on the online stuff. It does make a difference. Plus, even afterwards, it'll expand your territory. Expand your territory immensely. You can see clients anywhere in the world. Time zone is a little bit funky, but I have office hours. I stick to those office hours. If somebody in another country wants to see me, we will adjust those if necessary. But for the most part, I can see people at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day, and I'm still in most countries' reaches. It's the middle of the day that gets a little bit wonky for them. All right, anything else? Any other last minute questions? Remember, go to hypnonotes.com. I won't spam you. Spam is something that should be fried with eggs. So unless you come to my house for breakfast, you're not getting any.
Well, Michael, thank you so much.
That was my big ta-da.
Give you the ASL.
Yeah, that was my big, oh, yeah.
Thanks, Michael. That's good. That's great.
And thank you so much for bringing your world-class experience and knowledge to us and coming back home. I know this is your home a lot longer than it's been my home, and it's so good to have you back here and share.
Yeah. Oh, and a little offer for you guys too. When Vegas, well, Vegas is sort of open. Shows aren't all open yet, but when we open up and everything's sort of whatever the new normal is, whatever the new normal, that normal is, and we can go back to touching people, and I can go back to harassing people on stage in my hypnosis show. If you're ever in Vegas, please look me up. If I'm on my show, you got tickets if you want them. They're yours on the house. All you got to do is just give me some notice so I can put your name at the door. I would love to have you. I would love to see you. I'd love to have a cocktail with you or a soda or whatever it is you want to drink. And we could tear up Vegas and you'll get a tattoo. And
sounds great.
It'll be fun. Couldn't be all that bad. Really.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Michael.
Sure.
Well, fans, this is the conclusion of our educational portion of this meeting. For all those of you who are not ASPH members, whatever that might be, you can sign off. We're going to talk a little bit about some ASPH business, and hope to see you all soon. Those who are not going to talk ASPH business. So thanks very much for showing up. Thank you, Caryn.
I know. Thank you, Caryn. Thank you, Michael.
Awesome. Absolutely awesome. Really appreciate you showing up. Okay.
And
Thank
Skip,
you so
I'm
much, guys.
no problem. And Skip, I'm staying on for 1 second so I can end this recording with you.
Okay.
And I'll just mention, Jody, would you like me to send you the link to this? Because it's going to take, I'm going to have to render the video. It's going to take me about 20, 30 minutes to do that. I'll probably deal with the video tomorrow. I'll load it up in my Google Drive and I'll send you a shareable link.
Yeah,
so
no hurry.
if you would just please let me know as soon as you download it, because I'm going to dump it from my Google Drive. So I'm not going to save this recording. So let me know that you've downloaded it successfully and you have a copy on your computer before you let me know. Because once you let me know that, I'm going to dump it off my Google Drive because I'm running out of space because I got too much stuff on there. So
all right,
awesome.
perfect.
It was good seeing all of you again. My ASPH family, I miss you all. When hopefully you guys do go back to some in-person meetings when you can.
And if you do, every day.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like when, like ASPH.
4 to 5 days a week, I'm seeing clients in my office.
No, I mean like ASPH meetings. If you ever do an ASPH meeting, make sure it's at a really good buffet.
I don't know. This is a great way to do this.
Yeah.
I think everybody likes to do it, and everybody likes not having to drive. For me, get my passport stamped twice to go to the ASPH meeting.
Well, the biggest complaint I got was when I was the president was, we have to drive so far to do this.
Yeah, no, you come from Tucson.
I'm coming from Tucson.
Cry me a river.
Shut it.
Right.
And so 5 hours in the car there and back.
Yep.
So I don't want to hear your whining people. All right. I love you all. I'm going to end the recording now.